And that's the big thing. The Ashe is gone now. It's no longer going to be on either side, and that is a huge, huge change, especially now that it can open up maybe different Ezreal lanes. Maybe you can pick the Misfortune if you weren't happy picking that into the MF before.
I think it's the Misfortune that really opens up in my mind as the kind of primary AD that I feel like these two teams are going to be thinking about whether or not they want to select or ban it, respectively, between JDG and Weibo. Next ban coming in for JDG is going to be an early K'Sante. So there's also now the possibility of Renekton being left open and traded from Weibo. I just wonder what the ban in return would be. All the junglers are all still up as well, all the AP junglers. Nothing's really been removed away.
Yeah, and this is where I love series meta. On the day, what is working and what isn't. So yeah, I think that Renekton first pick could be a huge problem.
I think that's what Weibo are trying to force. Like, what JDG are trying to force here. Like the decision between that and, a mid lane AD ban. So JDG can now first pick the Renekton. They're happy with that matchup. They know that Breathe can't just first pick a K'Sante right back into it, and now it's just about the AD, and the AP junglers.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot
as well.
Yeah, there's so much up, and this is one of my favorite things about series when it's about what's working on the day, which comes through. It's very different from our bans at the start of the day, which is very mid lane focused. The Corki, which was banned in the first 2 games, has made it through in the next 2 after this point. Last game, Yagao, I actually think he did pretty well at putting out damage given the situation of his team, but it still wasn't the best kind of performance in terms of the overall team fights. Xiaohu has a chance to pick it up here if he wants.
Tarzan, been very potent on this Maokai. Yeah. Gonna have a lot of the setup for Weibo here as well, and has been such a big entrance for this team in this summer split.
And in terms of conditions for a successful draft from Weibo here, I want to see a good mix of reactive tools, but tools that aren't going to be used to just constantly force bodies in and in and in. I think JDG have really struggled, honestly, to deal with actually finding consistent engages. So if we can have these setups which are more turnaround based for Weibo, I think they're setting themselves up for success.
Yeah, and now the thing is, you have the Renekton. Renekton isn't really the turnaround champion. So do you have to all in on a style that hasn't worked for you this series? JDG, their year is on the line, and we're already starting to have some questions about these first few picks. They're going to have to prove to us they can see this through into a powerful draft.
And I don't know, Weibo, they already got that MVP of the split here in the rel. I don't know, but it is the Corki that gets locked in here for Yagao.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, this should just be Corki MF. I think you're very happy knowing that Missing should have enough champions to counter pick into this rel, and the jungle pick for Kanavi shouldn't really be pinched out too hard by just 2 bans when there was a pretty big lack of jungle bans in the first 3.
You have to pick the Zeri here. I think there's actually a real worry here from Weibo that you have an MF in bot lane, very strong laner. Renekton in top lane, very strong laner as well. If you don't lock in this Zeri right now, there was a chance you could have 3 very powerful lanes without answers.
Yeah, so my expectation here now for JDG is that they're going to look to remove away something like the Jhin, and then they're also going to look to remove away another facilitative, you know what the word I meant was, AD.
Nice try.
Nice try. Thank you. English is a hard language, man. What can I say? It is. So something like that, maybe a Varus call out, maybe, even a Kalista, right? Something that's going to really want to try to go toe-to-toe in the early laning phase with this Misfortune, and also just provide setup in the mid-game fights. There's the Jhin removed away. Last time out for Weibo, I think it was the Brand and the Kennen ban off the top of my head. So now they've got a bit of a freebie in terms of just looking for another support ban. It's Rakan.
JDG could also look to ban the Ezreal as well. That's also something which can kind of deal with a Renekton a little bit easier than a less mobile AD carry. Of course, there's been for the first couple of series over this weekend, Ezreal kind of fell off. I think in the recent couple, it started to crop back up again. Yeah,
and I will say, I also love this call from Weibo removing away the Rakan. Missing had a fantastic game to close out
absolutely.
So I think just kind of understanding his potency on that pick, and I actually just also really love the Kennen ban in response from JDG. Again, Breathe could take over a game very easily, and there's not a lot of disengage tools here available for JDG right at this moment.
Yeah, and we've seen Weibo are very happy going with a kind of team fight centered composition here for themselves and utilizing that to such strength with the leading edge of Tarzan and Crisp. Right now, though, we'll see what the lock-in is going to be into that top lane, or see if the solo lanes are going to matter a little bit more here.
So I think the Gnar is very good in the 1v1. I will say I think there's a great Lilia angle here from Kanavi. I think you can outfarm the Maokai, and it's very good at using these strong early lanes to combo up with.
I think the Ivern works a little bit better for me. I think it kind of edges up your scaling capabilities of buffing up your front line. Go something like this Leona, or even your Alistar, and then I think your team fighting is a lot easier. It also gives you the possibility of actually defending against some of these proactive plays from Weibo.
So this one's the easy one though. The MF is very, very easy.
The other's the easy part.
Might as
That's
well.
the easy one. Then the question is, well, I suppose the story of this series is, I think before this series, I would have said, hey, the Lilia works out. This series today,
it's about reactivity.
I think the Ivern really allows you to play through things. You do miss out on some magic damage. You don't really have much of that. I suppose there's not that much in terms of tanks you can pick on the other side, though. It is just that last carry to be decided by Weibo.
Isn't it so interesting, though, that we are not getting the kind of forward advances anymore in the meta from the jungle itself? Kanavi going for those facilitators. It is the Ziggs locked in for Weibo, and I love this.
I like it as well. I think obviously its ability to nullify some very strong early laning options, but just the fact of this game has been so much about being in front of an objective first, or the series rather, because of this last set of drafts. Ziggs can really make the game awkward to ever snowball just from existing and wave clearing on the mid lane wave. So again, big onus on Weibo to defend their mid lane tier 1 to try and keep the map open and allow them to, again, suffocate JDG out if they start to get a lead.
Yeah, if Weibo managed to survive into that mid game, I think their backline access is really, really good with that Ziggs as well. One thing that we have been saying about previous games, it has really been about the front line taking one in the shoulder so the backline can start doing some damage. This time, might be the backline themselves which are in more threat.
You can try to find anything you can in these games, but all that matters is coming away with that Nexus kill. JDG backs against the walls, season against the walls, and their lives on the line here. So much disappointment piling up on this team over this year. Imagining that they can't make it to an international for all of 2024 seemed so distant at the beginning of this year, but here we are. If they lose this game, they are done, and Weibo will be our number 4 seed from the LPL. It's been a topsy-turvy journey for Weibo, but after 7 losses in a row, they now find themselves 2 in a row and 1 away from that ticket to the World Championship. All the pressure, all the lights, all the veterancy coming down the line. We have seen so many back and forth between these two teams, and here we go, game number 4.
I have to say, it's the loudest I've heard the Gyos. Series.
And it makes so much sense. This is match point now. This is one of the teams potentially going home. JDG, a household name in the LPL. It was the era of JDG and top esports between them for the last few years. It's not necessarily that. Now I think BLG have solidified themselves as that after winning both Spring and Summer. They'll be going ahead as first seed. Of course, top esports, second seed, third seed, LNG. This game here, last chance for that last ticket from the LPL to Worlds.
Last chance saloon, if you will. I do want to take a little bit of a look at these early parts of the game, especially with some of that laning strength we were talking about for JDG. How will they utilize this to some extent, and especially that pathing from Kanavi?
Yeah, so curiously, Kanavi's starting on the bottom side. Pending he just does a regular Ivern full clear. With Ivern, the way that you know what side he's going to end up on is it's actually just like a regular jungle. If he starts on one side of the map, if he's doing the right clear, he's going to end up on the other side of the map eventually. So we'll see if, pathing towards the top side, towards Flandre, and getting him ahead is going to pay off some dividends, because this bottom side of the map has been so pivotal to so many of the games here today.
Yeah, and I really want to see what this bot lane can do from JDG. Ruler and Missing, they have been under a lot of criticism from this year, but as we can see in this series, they've had some better moments over the last week. Ruler especially, getting that lane dominance can be so important.
Oh, it absolutely can be, and they're already looking to get it here. As that's the flash out of Crisp. He will have the Hex flash, but that's big.
Big mistake from Crisp, just kind of crashes down in the exact same position. So respecting the fact that Missing could potentially have another stun up in a few moments' time, has to respect it. Xiaohu just going to get a little bit of information on Kanavi, but again, very unintrusive. Kanavi's just going to take up his red, Q towards the Krog, smite that, and then walk all the way back up to the top side and be there to cover Flandre.
JDG definitely have a team here with some good early lanes to play off of. We can see that, yes, Xiaohu got in for that early ward, but there was an early ward onto the other side too. You can see a blue ward by the Raptors. The Renekton and the MF, getting that push in does give JDG some options. Now, the question is, how do they leverage around that? JDG have not always been the super aggressive early game team. Typically, it's Kanavi which really facilitates that. Now it's Kanavi needing to react to his lanes, having that push, probably to make something happen.
see as the culminations are going to come through, and especially all that topside focus maybe coming to bear for both junglers. I just still feel like the story of these two guys is so differing in a lot of ways, but also very much the same. Like both of these guys, Kanavi and Tarzan, have been such integral pieces to their previous teams, to their teams now, and going to have to remain the same here.
And the best thing about that is the Griffin story as well. Both these junglers used to be on that legendary team. Kanavi, substitute behind Tarzan. Tarzan, one of the best junglers in the world for that era. Kanavi went over towards the LPL and has become an absolute mainstay and part of that real Hall of Fame here in the LPL 2. The fact that they are fighting in high-pressure scenarios like this after all these years is just so exciting for me in their story.
It truly is, and two of our best junglers to do it here in the LPL. Kanavi, the general, and Tarzan, the new age jungle king. As we get into it, though, it is also, speaking of the other important factors here, I mean, Missing has been kind of throwing his body on the line in a good way for this JDG team, and I think it's going to have to remain that case here for them if he really wants to have a big impact on the Leona.
Yeah, again, I do wonder how aggressive and how apprehensive these two teams are going to be about looking for engages, especially after a game like Game 3, where, you know, again, there was kind of one person in the entire game that could really get in there. This time now with Leona being present with Missing, I do question how aggressive JDG are willing to get. Again, when I do expect these teams to kind of just stand their ground a lot more if they can help it.
Yeah, I think it gets a little bit easier when you have the Ivan shields on the Leona. It's so much more tanky than a lot of other roles at that point. One of my problems with stuff like Alistar is only tanky when you have ult. If you're playing around these slower kind of fights, having the Leona with just the Eclipse up every 10 seconds is so very, very important way to face check and just bully your way into an area of the map.
Going to see the early boots completed for Kanavi as well with the cooldown boots, but we will have a conversation about objectives that have been pretty intense so far in this series, as we have the Dragon coming up, or already up, and then the Grub spawn #1 up in about 50 seconds.
So you also always have to remember with Ivan, one of his core weaknesses as a champion is his ability to contest objectives early on just sucks. So we'll see as Missing going to be a bit of hook damage here as
putting his body on the line.
How JDG actually look to approach these early objectives with lane priority that they should at the very least have through the mid lane on demand, and of course the bomb side has been relatively ruler and Missing favored in that regard too. Yeah,
I remember when Tyler One was doing his climb to Challenger and he was playing a load of Ivan, one of the things he was saying is that if you're ever in a position to 50-50 an objective, you've probably done something wrong. Not really about those objectives, which is why, again, moving back to this game here and now, having the lane priority across the board, or at least having one or two to work with, can be really important to get towards these.
And we're speaking of, those grubs are going to be spawning up. Dragons have taken a little bit of a back seat here, but we have seen heavy prevalence on trying to stack up those grubs. Obviously, both last games actually having the Grubageddon going over. But it is also about that prio you were talking about and seeing how, okay, Xiaohu going all the way ham on Yagao. But that is going to be his ultimate burn, so maybe not as much of a fight in the contest. Yeah,
that's important. Yagao does have cookies to use. That'll help a little bit with regen, but he's not as healthy as he could be. Means he's not moving down towards river to help with this dragon.
Yeah, but topside, Flandre is actually just cross-mapping, so this is just going to be Grubs of Dragon, as far as I can see right now.
A trade deal, you say?
A trade deal.
Indubitably. Very demure. Very demure.
What?
Oh. No, it is also just about utilizing
I'm sorry, we don't have kills for 7 minutes and this is what we reach, folks?
This is where we're going, man. This is
7
where we're
minutes,
going.
no kills, and we're pulling out demure.
Where's my LPL?
Yeah, just,
it is speaking, though, to the tensity of this game, of this series, right? Because both teams know there's so much on the line here, not only the respect of the league itself, but your season.
Absolutely, and you know, you then look at these lanes and I think they realized, like, let's just get ourselves into a position to fight as best as possible. Let's look for the those big spikes. It's not necessarily about the early fights in the way that I thought maybe JDG could look for. We're seeing tiers being built up. We've got 2 culls on the board as well. We're definitely waiting and sticking in lanes right now. No huge movements across the map from the lanes themselves.
We are going to get level 6s across, though, as well. We're going to have the big combo with the bullet time for himself. Obviously, the Mega Inferno Bomb going to be coming up very soon, but a little bit of consistent damage conversation for both teams.
Yeah, I think one thing to also mention is that this doesn't really benefit or take away from either side's composition in terms of just having a very even early game state, right? There's very strong positives to JDG's composition in terms of, well, MF spikes really hard on one item, yes, but I mean, he spikes even harder on two, and so does Ivern. So you don't mind waiting. Same kind of deal for Weibo, right? 2 items on Xiaohu, you know, 2 completed items on Light. Seems he's going the tier route. You're very happy to sit in a game state as long as you're not losing out too heavily on one side of the objectives and just farm up until you feel like you're ready to fight.
Yeah, I gotta say, not entirely sure I agree with the tier out for Light. I don't think necessarily you're going to be worried that much about dives. You probably would like to have that huge burst. So we'll check us. Look, we'll see whether he justifies the build later. But on top of other stuff too, I think the Black Cleaver for Renekton empowering the one item spike is also another thing which JDG will really want to do. I think as soon as one item is hit, JDG, I think they really need to use that power spike.
Oh, Grieve is so apprehensive.
They really want this.
He really has an idea of something's going on there. I mean, on the question, Kanavi should be fine. On the question of the Ziggs build, someone get orcs online.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's just cool. I do think, though, of course, the natural benefit is if JDG do look to be a little bit more aggressive, this game has been a game of inches, so that Archangel shield can definitely provide a lot of extra safety. And imagine getting an Archangel shield and then an Ivern shield on top of it. It just feels really rough. As speaking of rough, Xiaohu has to face tank a little bit of Yagao's damage, and even early on, quite a bit to put up.
I love that we aren't even a minute out from these objectives. We're getting so much setup around this top side of the map. Obviously, the lane swap coming through from JDG a little bit preemptively to that objective itself.
Yeah, and I think moving the bot lane to top lane just a minute or two before the grubs come up, meaning you can guarantee wave push and maybe start going towards those grubs, get towards 6 grubs. That's important, because I think this all fills into this game plan of one item, start to make some real proactive moves across the map. Use the 6 grubs if you can as well. And that's what JDG are really, really looking for. The time window where they get strongest is actually quite soon just coming up. That's a catch.
Nice bramble smash, but the immediate flashback from missing. Tarzan's going down heavily as he is cut to tinder. As now Chris coming over here on the Bissig though. Xiaohu putting some serious work in. The Ultra Shock laser going to slow down Yagao. Now Light coming over, can't hit the bomb, but Chris going for the engage. Magnet Storm over. JDG fighting this one tooth and nail. Xiaohu comes up with one. JDG are starting to flash away, but they're losing bodies. And a big bullet time from Ruler. And it's going to be Daisy. No way! He dies! Ivern is a friend of the forest, and so is JDG.
The fadeaway auto attack from Kanavi, and then Daisy doing all the rest of the dirty work to find Xiaohu. I think it was also the red buff, in fairness. But what a strong fight for JDG, despite how honestly doomed it looked being on the opposite side of the map for a moment. The kite out is great, and there's just seemingly not enough damage out of Weibo yet.
Yeah, and JDG, we were saying, hey, the power spike's coming up. We haven't even reached the one item spike just yet. Real good pick from missing. Not really sure what Tarzan was doing in this position. We'll see in the replay. Yes, you have the Zeri, which can come over the other side. Maybe he was trying to look to get a smite on the Scuttle Crab for the eventual grub fight, but he just doesn't have his lanes quite in position to respond.
Towing the line, and he's punished. I don't necessarily think it was super egregious. I think it's just missing punishing him really aggressively more than anything else. JDG end up on the wrong side of the map, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because Kanavi is putting in all of this work. A last low attack from Crisp. Daisy gets another knock up onto Xiaohu. He then also gets the Trigger Seed shield with the Make It Rain on top of the bullet time. It then slows Xiaohu enough for these last 2 Daisy woes to actually kill Xiaohu with the red buff burning on the very last tick.
I can't believe it. On hit from Daisy, applying red buff, gets the kill, sets up for the grubs now. JDG, that last fight sets up for maybe Grubageddon.
Grubageddon would be huge. Again, trying to get those turrets down quickly. Very important. Get that standing gold there. They will get up to 4. They'll at least get the might spawn, but Weibo have made their presence known here and will force JDG off of it. Missing got hit back by the satchel charge, but Weibo, they really just want to recenter focus on these grubs. They go for the flash play. Never mind, they want the blood. They want Kanavi's head, and they do take it indeed, and they'll add another one to it. Missing's head has gone his namesake.
And it's just the perfect amount of aggression. JDG, again, you know, just kind of overstepping this time. I mean, they did it in the last fight. It was just that they ended up turning it around. Light's dead.
Oh, Light is barely able to flash out, but Ruler has his number.
And it's just that level of discipline that I'm seeing from Weibo in the actual fights themselves. We'll ignore what Light just did. Excellent stuff. They're going to prevent a full-blown 6 grubs going over to JDG. And I was actually going to say, look, Grubageddon could be scary, but we saw what happened. 5 grubs went over to JDG last time. They didn't actually get to utilize them enough, right? So we'll see as this fight unfolds. A great engage comes through.
And now we've had both junglers just get punished for walking a little bit too close to River. If you have that damage nearby, the damage comes in very thick and fast. The solo laners were on the sidelines for JDG. They weren't respecting the engage from Weibo this time. Does mean that JDG forfeit that 6 grubs, which potentially could have been game-changing for them.
And I want to take a look at the map state here. Obviously, a couple kills going the way of Kanavi, but getting these items under Ivern, super important for the team composition of JDG, but they will have a ton of just go buttons, it feels like, for their team composition.
Yeah, and I think those go buttons are much more available in this game than they have been in previous ones. I think the previous ones were much more about, okay, absorb the engage, fight back. I think this time you can really land some knockout blows very, very easily. Yes, the Ivern's also in the picture there too, but having, you know, Leona, Rel, but also some other big pieces really helps them be aggressive.
Yeah, very nuanced. A lot of the engage tools in this series have been very slow moving, right? Very based on positioning and flanks as opposed to just being able to press a button like Leona and start one up if you feel like someone's really overestimating where they can be.
Now we're going to be looking at the setup on bot side. We do have a Dragon up and available for either side. And a little bit of a 1v1 action. I think Xiaohu might have been off a little more than he can shoot. Does pop the lightning crash right back to him, but all that priority is important because we have both objectives that are going to be up on either side of the map.
Yeah, both those mid laners don't have TP. Xiaohu's going to bite the bullet now and reset just to be back out on the map. Crisp is totally fine here. So that's going to be a bit of priority for the time being on the bottom side from Yagao. And on the top side here, Flandre is about to actually hit Mega. So he's got a TP timer, but the problem is the rest of Weibo don't really care about that.
He's just going to try to take the 1v1 into Flandre, but imagine being in this position as Breathe. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier in the series itself as they're going to try to make a play on top side. Actually preemptive Nature's Grasp as they actually might catch. Okay, he's going to flash out. I think that's a really good call from Flandre itself. It will also mean JDG even up the Dragon score.
Yeah, if any CC hits there, Zigzots comes through, absolutely demolishes Flandre, so it's a good flash. I think Flandre, one of the real benefits to him on JDG is the fact that he does have that veterancy. He knows how to play that weak side.
Okay. I was wondering whether or not Yagao could kill that tower. Sorry to interrupt you. Because the sequence now should turn into Dragon for Herald, Tower for Tower. But with that teleport, it should just be Weibo Tower. Herald should be theirs. And it's actually going to be enough trade. Well, someone has to grab the Herald.
Yeah, that ain't happening, buddy.
That ain't happening. I don't think JDG are going to allow that one.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
That is very unfortunate.
I will say, though, still denying it. And I think that's a big thing. Breathe going to catch Yagao, gets the wall stun.
Oh my god, he's got so much damage. That's a big gnar, baby. Yagao, you're in some trouble. The wall up hits. Oh, Breathe can't do it. The rock fling, but it didn't matter. Breathe with a solo over Yagao.
Yagao breathes no more. Teleports into the Mega Dart and discovers why that is a very, very bad idea. Breathe gets to sit in that side lane now and start taking that turret.
And what a nice moment for Breathe, given the history. Inside of regional qualifiers, finds a moment for himself, a solo kill onto Yagao, and let's see how crucial that could be as this fight unfolds.
JDG, little angy after that one. They want to take out that anger on a Crisp, and they will get Kanavi another kill. That's a third one for the Ivern of JDG.
Yeah, we're going all into the split map again now. Lots of plays across the map, trading turrets, looking for these picks. Of course now, JDG with that kill, looking to just see if they can push up and get a bit more of that vision, retain that vision in the bot side jungle, maybe get a blue buff steal.
Try to get over there too as Tarzan is going to be in the middle of a bouncy castle right now, throwing his own bounce right back, but he's in a little bit of trouble. Breeze coming over on the corner. Yeah, he might look for it. Nature's Grass coming across, though. Breeze starting to stack up this Mega Gnar. TP is going to be coming in. It looks like we're just throwing it all here on the bottom side as Breeze is not going to find the angle there. Flandre able to slice and dice his way to safety.
So maybe not. Piling on. Flandre doesn't have flash.
Oh my god, he does so much damage. The sapling plus the slows there coming in as he's still Mega Gnar, still looking for the ulti. Gets the slowdown on the missing here from Crisp. They do not feel confident going. Mega Gnar misses. Bullet time right back. You do that and it is calculated by JDG to take you out.
A moment
they take Breathe gone.
to remember for Breathe and a moment to forget immediately after. A whiff on the flash ultimate. Could have found so many more, but just barely short, and JDG walk away with the slight advantage.
And I think now Weibo, at least they managed to get an opening onto this mid lane turret. Again, this series has been really quick moving between towers, trying to make sure that the enemy team has to defend multiple points on the map. So quick to pile onto these fights of both these teams. You can feel the tension just in the gameplay like that. Teleports overstaying a little bit more, trying to play around that fog of war, trying to find that unexpected play.
All the pressure, all the mounting, all that reservation early, starting to come unbuttoned a little bit in this later part of the game, in this resting of the mid game as JDG are looking for a little bit more on top side. actually get about half of Xiaohu's health out. He does still have flash to maybe get out of this one here, but it gets the slow on him. There's that flash I was talking about. It is going to be JDG looking at an outer tower in topside.
You know, you've got the Triforce Corki. Flandre is going to be there as well. This will fall very easily. And sadly for Breathe, he's not really pushed up the wave quickly enough in that bot side to very easily take that turret. Means he's a little bit behind that play. We have a lot to talk about this. I mean, there's a Mega Dart. Teleports right into it, and I mean, the stun actually misses there. Breathe misplays the very first part of it. Even missing a wallop still kills him.
Yeah, it's just so much damage. Doesn't really matter power in the Triforce last order as well. But it's the minions.
It's the minions!
It's the minions.
That's OP.
Very OP, and then it's all about this fight. And I was actually kind of worried for Tarzan for a while during this call because there's so much CC between Daisy, Leona, and of course Kanavi. But Tarzan crucially W's the knockup from Daisy. So hard to time that well. The redemption then comes down on top of all of this, and it's just very difficult for JDG to continue the advance.
And just look how quickly this erupts. So many different teleports coming through. Everything is just a pylon beyond this point. This could have exploded out of control very, very quickly.
Yeah, Crisp had such a nice angle. Just wasn't quite able to find anyone else outside of missing here. And again, Breathe. It's just...
As soon as you do that, Ruler knows to pull the trigger.
Look, I've really got to give credit to both Ruler and Kanavi. It was such a good read on his posture.
So Dragon coming up in 10 seconds out of that replay. What have we got? No flash on Breathe, of course, very important. JDG, can they use the flash on Ruler to get a good bullet time?
Also, big point is JDG have hit second item thresholds on multiple members here. They will have a little bit more fighting strength here, but it's all about prio, and it looks like JDG are going to try to wrestle that away from Weibo as they move down.
Yeah, Light's gone into multiple components, so he's nowhere near a second item at this moment in time. Weibo, I think this is a risky fight to take. All things considered, you lose this, the game really starts to run away from you potentially.
Yeah, and they lose control of the choke point. They were using the minefield from Ziggs to try and stop this easy entrance into River, going back towards the mid lane right now. But JDG, I think they're very comfortable with this setup, especially with Ruler with the infetch. Here we go!
Oh, they do get the re-engage there, though. Missing's in a lot of trouble here. Gets the satchel charge right back to him, though. JDG reforming ranks around this choke point. Weibo, they will get the Mega Gnar from Breathe, but it's going to start timing out here.
If they can get Missing to just very quickly reset, I think another thing that's also just ticked over is Yagao's Muramana as well. So he is more than ready to fight. Weibo have started up this Dragon. Missing can't go back to base. They're trying to enter through the bottom side, JDG, and Breathe's Mega Gnar just timed out.
Oh, that's so rough. Missing going for the Solar Flare. Gets the flash out of Light. Light trying to reposition here, but Breathe is just a mini Gnar. Yagao wants to take him out. Yagao, he's trying to kill Breathe by himself. He
wants revenge.
Yagao, he can't get him in the end. Oh, the false pop goes wide. As now JDG did take that Dragon in the meanwhile, and now looking for an engage. Daisy leading the front, but will be taken out. Chris blocking back. Tarzan hitting the Nature's Grasp. Yagao with the flank of the century maybe, but Xiaohu wants to take him out. Big bullet time from Ruler as he steps up yet again. And JDG put down Weibo as Breathe in his little mini Gnar form will be nothing against the might of Ruler.
Ruler wants game 5. Ruler does not want the story to end here. A magnificent team fight from Misfortune.
Takes it into his own hands. And how many times in 2023 did he do that? And another time added to that list as JDG look to take the Baron and snowball this game wholly in their favor.
We talked about how it was a risky fight for Weibo. Item spikes were hit for the carries of JDG. Yagao can't quite get the solo kill into Breathe cleanly at the start, but by all means does not mean that is like the winning fight for Weibo. Yagao so close to killing Breathe very cleanly here. Just keeps going forwards and falls it forward. The red buff slow keeps coming over and doesn't quite get the clean kill here. Breathe manages to back off. But this is where everything kind of goes wrong after this point. The Gnar's not in the picture for that big front line, and Yagao gets to re-enter the fight.
And Ruler just stepping up saying, this isn't going to be an even fight anymore. His mindset on how he approached this, so deadly.
Beautiful. So beautiful. And it's also Yagao's little bit of setup, that step up. Get that first bit of damage in, which enables Ruler to even do that in the first place. And Breathe is just chump food at the end of the play.
How gigachad was that play from Yagao? Like,
yeah,
almost solo kills Breathe. I was like, I didn't get him right. Time to go for his teammates. Jumps onto the other side of the fight. Valkyrie's in, and JDG, sizable advantage now. I think with these kind of leads, I'm starting to smell some silver.
might be a straight variety. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Anyways,
Yeah, me neither.
it is JDG who knew that they had all the pressure on them, who knew that this could be their final game here in 2024 and want to push it to the brink. Ruler and Yagao, both of them in this series, there's been some lows, but my God, when they're stepping up as big as now, he might be a little bit caught. Big Mega Inferno bomb, bullet time coming across. You thought he was caught, but it was really Weibo who were caught all along. As it's a double kill for Ruler, and they're gonna find more in mid lane.
I can't tell who's more broken, Ruler or the fact that Ivern could even keep him alive in that kind of position in the first place. Either way, it just doesn't matter. JDG, 5 strong, are marching onto the base of Weibo, and they should be able to crack this one open.
Yeah, behind every godlike carry, there has to be one of those people holding up the platform. Kanavi, almost 4,000 gold advantage in the jungle on the Ivern, saving the day.
What a play and what a moment from JDG to rise to the occasion here. So far in the advantage with a very structured team composition. They've already busted down the mid lane. Now they're looking at top.
T2 should be a relatively easy siege. Weibo is still coming back out and recovering from that play. They want a long angle by the looks of Crisp's posturing, but I just don't think they've got it. Grieve is almost mega. I mean, the timing is okay. I just think it's too risky.
Yeah.
You just look at the carries here from Weibo as well. Even if you find those angles, how do you finish the kill? Especially through the Ivern. You have a low damage Ziggs build. This is one of the problems with this. When you start falling behind, you don't have that burst turnaround. You're not exactly getting there with the Zeri either. Getting through an Ivern shield, but through the Leona as well. How do you kill the target?
I mean, I love the decisiveness from Weibo. Don't get me wrong. They have to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Ruler, but he just doesn't lose health. Between the blood shield, and between the trigger seed shields, it's just too much.
We have found out the kitchen sink is about a quarter of a HP buff. Right, okay, awesome, cool, that's really working out. I mean, there is a second item now on light, but it just feels like the critical mass has been hit by JDG. This Ivern, absolutely broken. The misfortune, yes, you have no choice but to dive it. You need to get on this target, but even if you do, it feels like you're charging the Light Brigade, which I guess is relevant from the Ziggs.
I guess so. And I love that it was early gold on the Ivern. That feels like it actually enabled a little bit of this. Those item spikes really coming in clutch for him, but it's also just been about this whole team rising up here.
Yeah, remember, we had this conversation yesterday on the cast as well about Ivern and how cheap his items are. This 4,000 gold lead, it feels like a 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
He's got 2 whole completed items over Tarzan. And there's just not much Tarzan can do about it. Tarzan even went Locket first. He's just that economy starved in comparison to the gold-rich game that Kanavi's been able to have.
So, Weibo, this is Desperation Stations. At least it's not Soul Point. You can let one dragon go. I don't think you're exactly going to have a choice about that one. Problem is, they're so far behind in so many key roles, it's very hard for them to control the map and actually make some big plays over them. I think one of the other bonuses as well of being ahead, just in general, you kill things quicker. You kill jungle camps quicker. You kill objectives better. That dragon didn't take that much time, even though Ivern is not a particularly fast taker of it. The other people are. Yep. It means that Weibo, even though they are stalling, it's less time stalled than they would have liked.
I think the only thing keeping Weibo in this game, potentially, and I don't think it's going to do it for long if JDG just decide to put their foot down, is just the fact that, I mean, Ziggs wave clear is Ziggs wave clear, right? But at the end of the day, JDG are going to have to eventually walk up, and then, or rather, Weibo are eventually going to have to walk up to contest something. So if they let the Baron go, then the Baron's over in JDG's hands, they can siege. If they let the Soul go, then that's Ocean Soul, and I think that's an insurmountable.
Ruler, brother, I love you. You gave me a heart attack there. If we had BPM monitors, they'd be going through the roof. That was the one time he was away from Kanavi.
I'm sure Jackie Love is actually present in the venue, and it feels like there might have been like a brief moment of mind control. Like,
you know who is in the venue actually, which is it's important here. This time last year in the finals, JDG sent BLG to Worlds through winning finals in a 5-game series against LG. It's a very different scenario, but BLG are here watching JDG. We saw them with some signs from there as they presumably charge on and cheer on the team which sent them to Worlds last year.
Exactly that. You'll love to see some of that camaraderie. And maybe some, I guess Weibo not very happy about that one. But, you know, we'll see how it goes here as Weibo still backs against the wall, circling around about a 9,000 gold deficit here over into JDG. And Kanavi has also completed the Ardent Sensor here, so he's getting along on those items. He's literally on par or better than his carries here. Obviously, cheaper items themselves, but result-based analysis means those items are completed.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Even still, like you never you never see your jungler with more completed items than laners. It's so, yeah, it's a very rare sight.
You're saying nerf jungle? Nice, cool.
Oh,
right, cool.
oh, whoa.
So moving on, so it's Baron spawning right now. That's your.
I didn't say all that, but speaking of the jungle, isn't that a nightmare?
It is.
For
It
Weibo.
truly is.
Thankfully, they've got, things like the saplings, but the problem is the approach is so slow that this Baron's already half HP.
The night is dark and full of terrors. Weibo know that oh so well here. 2 games back-to-back have they dominated JDG, but here they are, backs against the wall themselves. With that sweet sound of silver scrapes right around the corner, JDG just want to
They leashed it!
No! Oh my God! Weibo take the Baron! They'll get all 5 out!
It might not be for the game, but they've just C9'd it!
Okay. Not even Xiaohu getting away. Tarzan might not be so lucky. That make it rain just slowing down. As now the lightning crash coming out. Weibo in some trouble. Tarzan going down. They lose one of their capes, but JDG, they might have just fumbled a little bit of this.
They leashed it! They leashed the Baron! There was always the risk of a Ziggs throwing a bomb in there. Weibo, they take that reaction. They do lose Tarzan, but I don't think it costs the game. You have Ziggs wave clear, you have the Baron minions. Weibo, somehow, we were singing songs of silver scrapes, but they might have just held on just a little longer.
Now, the gold difference is still huge, and I think the items are very much still in favor of JDG, but the fact that Weibo are able to take this Baron away and prevent the actual sieging possibilities of JDG is so huge, as the overcommit is just on to breathe, and I understand it, but also someone has to get off the Baron. What is it? Is it Daisy keeping a leash? No, Tarzan just walks back in at the right time.
It is the territorial Baron. It's the all-seeing Baron, rather.
Yeah.
It's the type of Baron pit. It gives a slightly easier opening into it. Tarzan walks in, combos it, heist complete.
The smite was even a frame early. There was even a brief window for Kanavi to potentially keep it secured, and Tarzan still wins out.
It was this season where we had the Baron pit change. Every so often, you get that one little reminder and you think,
yeah,
oh my God, the pit changes. The flavor of 3 can actually change these big late game moments.
It is Weibo holding on by the skin of their teeth here after claiming that Baron, but that hold on has to continue remaining strong. They have about 50 seconds till an Ocean Soul for JDG. And if that's not the nail in the coffin, I don't know what is.
Watched a lot of European League of Legends lately. But I just don't know. It's such a big hill to climb. 10,000 gold. And I mean, the Ocean Soul just makes things so difficult.
There is a Baron for 50 seconds. Dragon's coming up in 30. Weibo still needs someone near the base to use that Baron buff, though, and that is really not something you could do this team fight with. What are you looking for? A Ziggs ult steal? You don't have a flash on Tarzan. It might have to be some miracle double objective steal to keep them in it.
I love that JDG are just stepping up so far over the line here just to keep Weibo at arm's length here, but a lot of positioning, a lot of execution needed from Ruler here to layer down the damage. Weibo look like they want to enter from the bot side.
Xiaohu teleports towards that bot lane, very important.
Try to position around this dragon. It is already started up. I love that Tarzan's using this bush, but Weibo, they are putting this game on the line here by contesting this.
Reeves Mega Knight's about to time out, and that's definitely when JDG are going to look to get a little bit more aggressive. There it is, it's gone. They're going to step forward now, but look at Crisp. Look at Chris.
Oh, he's got a big engage. Okay, bullet time coming across. There's Nature's Grasp. It's going to go the way of Kanavi. They have secured Soul for JDG. The fight after, though, Xiaohu looking to put in the damage. Daisy's already gone. Crisp going for the engage on the missing, but they might just turn right back on him. This is so dicey, but JDG, they're waiting to pull the trigger here. They decide they don't really need to. They're going mid.
They can walk up the mid lane. They can actually stop the bases here, and Yagao could just end the game straight up.
That's what they're going for. Yagao already going that way. Ruler going that way. They're using this here. TP coming in, though. Bereave might be able to stop that siege coming down, and it looks like they might have gotten it re-engaged, though. JDG, they're picking apart the stragglers of Weibo as Light is left out by himself. They're also losing the fight in the base. Ruler kiting his way to victory, and of course it's Yagao and Ruler who put the finishing mark on this game number 4, and Silver Stripes, here we come.
In our last chance to qualify a team for the 2024 World Championship, it has gone the distance. JDG, World's 23 semi-finalists. Weibo Gaming, World's 23 finalists. Only one goes forward from here. JDG draws even.
What a game. after everything that's gone on in this series prior to Game 4. JDG keep Weibo at arm's length the entire game. After a chess game in Game 3, they make Weibo look like they're playing checkers in Game 4. And it all comes down to one game.
It was still
any other way.
ridiculous in that late game. We could have had 2 miracle objective steals to make this a 3-1. The leash on that Baron, the actual flavor of Baron and the pit that it spawns with it, potentially changing that late game. It wasn't to be, but my heart rate, well, it went up. My heart dropped. The heart rate went up. Tense.
Hey, there's one more spot on the line for LPL. It has to go the distance. It has to have all the drama, especially with all the names we have on these two teams, the journeys we've gotten to this point. Again, Weibo having fallen so far down from their precipice, starting off at finals, but finding their way back into the series, and now JDG evening it up and bringing us to 5 games. Oh, I couldn't be more excited. As we're going to go to a little break, we'll hear those silver scrapes and we'll come back for Game 5.